BookTube, this is my March 2020 wrap up. I didn't really keep going with a lot of books this month. I just kind of added to the pile. I think I'm currently reading like 17 books. But yeah, we just kind of added to it. It's a mess, but that's fine. We'll deal with that another time. Unfortunately, however, a lot of these were ebooks and e-audiobooks, so it's going to be visually very boring, this video. Sorry about that. I read about 8 books this month. One I read twice because Goodreads glitched and I couldn't get rid of like the excess read date. But I'm still counting that, so it's about 8 books. I started off with The Tea Dragon Society by Katie O'Neill. I love Katie O'Neill's work. This is about a girl whose mother is a blacksmith, and one day she finds this tea dragon that's lost and returns it to its owner. Like smithing, caring for tea dragons is like a dying art, and she has been learning to smith, and she's really interested in these tea dragons, and it's so sweet. Katie O'Neill kind of reminds me of Studio Ghibli in that it's a very magic in the mundane kind of thing, and it kind of makes you feel good. Yeah, so it's her finding her way into this art and making friends, and it's the loveliest wee story. And I think there's one, maybe 2 more that I really need to get my hands on. But yeah, I loved it. It was 5 stars. The other 2 books that I finished for the Animal Crossing readathon were not. I think I mentioned before I've been downloading kind of under 10-hour e-audiobooks from the library to try and get up to my 800 books goal. They have not been going well for me. The second book that I read this year was the Poems to Fall in Love With anthology, edited by Chris Riddell, and I did not like it. I think I gave it 1 or 2 stars. There were quite a few poems that I did like in it, and they did nothing for me. I think The Orange was in it, and I heard it, and it was just nothing. I felt nothing, and that poem actually means quite a lot to me, and I just felt nothing. The voices were very kind of bland. They were like announcement over the tannoy voices, and they were flat, and it didn't work for me. Also, there were some Shakespeare excerpts, there were some Shakespeare excerpts, and they kind of baffled me as well, because one of the things that I really love about Shakespeare is the iambic pentameter. I love the rhythm of it, and there was no rhythm. They were just, like I said, it was just really flat. So I found that very disappointing. It was only about an hour though, so it was okay, I guess. It wasn't that much time wasted. So yeah, 1 or 2 stars. And then again, the other one was also 1 or 2 stars. It was Sea of Whispers by Tim Bowler. I didn't mind the narrator this time, Mark Meadows. I thought he did a good enough job. This is probably YA but skewing younger, maybe like 14ish. But I didn't understand why this existed. Which sounds really mean, but I don't understand why it exists. Sea of Whispers, this girl, Hetty, lives on a very isolated island, and she can see like faces in glass, and she doesn't like being called crazy because of it, even though she has been showing people for years since she was a child that you know, there are faces in glass and no one has been able to see it, but she keeps kind of shoving bits of glass in her face. And there's also this old antagonistic man who she calls crazy, and like, it feels very pot calling the kettle. And they spend a lot of time on this island and with the antagonism, and it just really wound me up. It was a lot better once they got off the island, but spoiler alert, this seeing faces in the glass thing that she can do, she can't by the end of it, and I don't get it. Like, you don't need to explain powers necessarily, but I don't understand why she suddenly couldn't do it anymore. And that was baffling to me, that choice. If this ability had come to her at the start of the book, it would be like, oh, this thing is big and momentous, and because it does kind of change her life, but it just kind of felt very convenient. I don't know, I didn't get it, and I didn't understand why it existed, as mean as that sounds. And then I read Princess Ever After by Katie O'Neill. This is the one that I read twice. It was a great palate cleanser after those 2 audiobooks. Yeah, like I said, it's very magic and the mundane. This is about a princess who wants to be a hero, and what happens after she rescues a princess in a tower, and it is so sweet and so lovely. And I actually forgot there was an epilogue, which was lovely as well. It was absolutely so cute. I wish I kind of didn't need to read it twice, but you know, like I said, it was a great palate cleanser after the disappointments. And Princess Ever After was like 5 stars again, of course. And then the last book that I read this month came from the indie press Nyx, I think. Nyx Publishing. So this was the first book that they had done, and they didn't get to launch it because of what is happening in the world, unfortunately. And they did the really kind thing of the offer's like finished now, but they gave a discount code so you could get the ebook for free, which I took, and I also ordered the paperback, and that was the best decision. I am going to have great fun when that comes. Doing photo shoots, it is going to be great. I love this one. I have said, like in my last Bane Books video, I have enjoyed anthologies, individual anthologies, but I kind of have always been on anthologies as a whole. I like anthologies now. I love this one so much. It is 18 stories, as you can tell by the title, Unspeakable, a queer gothic anthology. It's very queer. There are trans characters and lesbians and gay men, and oh man, there were vampires and sentient houses and gothic horror and oh, I loved it so much. It is amazing. Yeah. I think, like I said, if you like vampires, if you like sentient houses, if you like gothic horror and gothic romance, there was such sweet love stories, and also kind of terrible people in like epic love stories. And if you like any of that, I think you would really enjoy it. I think you should give it a go. Yeah. I finished 2 physical books this month, and the first I was actually supposed to do for BAME Books last month. I'm sorry. I started filming and then I just didn't finish. It will definitely be going up sometime this month. I have my review notes, so please excuse me if I don't go into that much detail here. The book is The Girl Who Stole an Elephant by Mizrana Farouk. This is about Chaya, who steals the Queen's jewels and then has to deal with the fallout. The blurb talks about, her escaping on the back of an elephant into the jungle, and where she finds a revolution stirring. And I will say this is a really quick read, and it's fast paced, and I loved it. The characters can be a little bit frustrating the way that kids can, headstrong and a wee bit reckless and a wee bit stubborn, but that's kids, and it's middle grade, and that's kind of what you have to expect. But I felt that the ending was a little bit rushed, unfortunately. I didn't dislike how it ended, it was just dealt with a little bit too quickly and a little bit too neatly, and I was a wee bit disappointed with that. So it was about 4.5 stars for me. Aside from that, it's a really good book. And then theme, I don't know if you've noticed, the other physical book that I finished this month was Inspector Chopra and the $1 Million Motor Car. This was a quick read, so it's about 87 pages, and this is the part of the Baby Ganesh series. This was a reread for me. Sorry, the Baby Ganesh Detective Agency series. There is more than just the elephant. Yeah, but it is 3.5. I unfortunately never finished more than the first full book, so there were some elements in this which I found were spoilers. I don't really mind them, but it would have been nice to have seen things come out naturally. Again, baby elephant. The baby elephant was absolutely adorable, and I love him. But I did quite like the case. I'm more like a cozy mystery person rather than like actual crime fiction. Sorry, Kirsty, who lent me her Kathy Reichs books about 2 years ago, 2.5 maybe, and I haven't finished the first one. I am sorry. Crime really isn't my thing. But I did find it like a satisfying mystery, and I didn't find it too convoluted, but I would be lying if I said the main girl wasn't the elephant. I would also be lying if I said it didn't feel a little rushed. But again, this is quick reads, it is 87 pages, you're not going to get like there was only so much. It was a good mystery. I just felt like kind of like a video game. We were fast traveling everywhere. Just give me a moment to breathe, please. But again, the format would not have allowed that. I do think I gave this a 4 or 5 stars. I am. Can you guess why? I am not biased. I say I am a good reviewer. I also started 2 books this month, and one was for the Animal Crossing readathon. It was We Hunt the Flame. I only got to page I think 48 or something. I didn't make it far. I am really hoping I get to finish it this month. However, I really liked the start of it, and that prince. I am very curious as to how things will work out. I really want to see these two characters meet. I admit that the good guy or a good person with a good heart forced to do bad things is very contrived and also kind of frustrating. A lot of like morally grey characters kind of have that. Where they're not actually morally grey, they're just kind of forced against their will to do bad things. I really do think I will like it here though. And that's really all I can say on that because I didn't get far. But I got about halfway through Wicked As You Wish. This is an arc. It came with Fairy Loot. I am an idiot who thought it was coming out in May because I get March and May mixed up all the time. That is not true. I think it came out the 3rd and I got like halfway through the book in like a single sitting, and then I was just too tired, and then the publication date had passed and so had the urgency to read it. It is a very quirky book, and I thought it was a portal fantasy. It's kind of is, not in the way that I expected it to be. It's also quirky in a way that I was sure I was going to hate it. And I do think it's a pretty divisive book. I think it very much is either you love it or you hate it kind of book. But it worked for me. I just kind of really love this idea of alternate history, but fairy tales, but real. I think it was pulled off really well. I do understand people's frustration. I think someone who DNF'd it said that they didn't understand the magic system and there was no explanations for it. You're just gonna see some magic before you get it explained. So yeah, I do really understand all the ways in which it could be found frustrating. I just think it's really fun if you can get past that. So that is the March wrap up. I actually did find it a really good month. I am not sure if that's because there were more good than bad, or if the great books were really that great, because the not so great were really not so great. But I'm happy with this month. I do wish I'd gotten a little bit more read, a little bit more finished, but I'm happy with it. Thank you for watching.